There you go.
Yay.
There we go. Look at us,
We're on.
guys. We are live on our YouTube channels. We're on the Facebook page. And today we're here to discuss mental toughness. Oh, yeah, I'm excited about this one. I'm Matthew Blades. To my right is Dr. Dave. Below him, Chad from Mental Joe. Good afternoon, boys.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
So what happened, Chad? Your son missed his bus, or what happened here? Why were you late?
So here we go. So the wife went out and bought Connor a little.
Why are you throwing the wife into this? Probably has nothing to do with her.
Well, it does, but it saved us. It saved us. Her planning saved us. So she bought Connor this little watch that you can program numbers into it, and it's got a GPS, and so a little kid tracker because got mom and parent paranoia a little bit, so we got him that. And well, it's his first day in kindergarten, and we're standing at the bus stop, and it's 110 freaking degrees outside, as you guys know, and we're looking at this bus app and the bus finally comes up. There's no Connor on the bus. Connor got on the wrong bus. So
as a kindergartner,
his first day too. It's his first day.
Oh my God, this is absolute. It's gonna send mom mental. This is gonna ruin the whole month.
Oh, it's done. It's shot to shit already. I turned and all I heard was the scream, "Get your truck!"
Oh my gosh!
So we're hauling, and I'm flying down Joe Max and freaking trying to find this bus on the little GPS, and she's calling it, and she can't get a hold of him. And lo and behold, we finally get to the bus, and he's like, "Hey, Mom, what's up?"
Yeah, it's like no big deal to him.
Yeah. So no, we got the little man, but his first day, he loves the kindergarten. He loves the big boy school, but the wrong bus did not step foot well with mom. So that's going to be in the PTSD rung for mom for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and they'll get in. Listen, the whole school will collectively get together to make sure that doesn't happen for a long time now. So he'll be in good hands, right? It's almost like the best case scenario. This is the best thing that could have happened.
Got it out of the way. Done.
Oh my God. Oh my God. How was your 4-wheel drive trip, by the way? Didn't you just go up to Sedona last week?
Yeah. But let me just say something about Chad's situation. These small T traumas make great stories.
Yes.
I still have plenty from my older son from when he was little.
Yeah.
Like what? Give me a good small T story from when he was little.
So I think he was probably about 7 years old or so. And we were having a pool party. We had some friends over, and I came in the house. And I see him, we had a little goldfish in a bowl. I see him up to his elbow in the goldfish bowl, swinging around like this. I'm like, Connor, what are you doing? He took his hand out, sopping wet, and the goldfish is swimming vertically like this.
Oh, no.
Just going around with the bowl, right? Not moving at all. The fish is completely paralyzed. I'm like, what did you do to the goldfish? And I looked right next to the fish tank, and there was a tube of Ambisol, which is lidocaine. So he squeezed the entire tube of Ambisol and paralyzed the fish. So the fish was completely immobilized. About 15 minutes, the fish started to
Don't laugh, Chad.
And then eventually started swimming back around again. So he didn't kill it.
Oh, it lived. That's incredible. It lived.
That is a badass goldfish.
I drained all the water out and replaced the water, and yeah, he came back.
Amazing. That is incredible. That is a good small T story. Holy moly. All right, back to the 4-wheel driving. Where'd you guys go? What did you do?
Good. Shout out to Arizona Broncos group. This was their largest turnout for an event. We did Broken Arrow Trail up by Sedona. 19 vehicles showed up. So they had people that had a lot of off-road experience. Some people were complete newbies, never been out off-roading before. And so it was a very supportive group. They made sure that everybody was able to keep up. We had radios to communicate, and everybody had a great time. And one of the Bronco owners also owns a restaurant up in Sedona, and he kind of cleared a space for us. We all had lunch over at his place when we were done. It was really a lot of fun. Good families, all ages. There were guys that were older than me. There were young families with kids. It was really terrific.
Nobody tipped?
Oh, no.
Good. Well, listen, I want to get into this idea of mental toughness today. A good friend of, I just should say good friend of mine, somebody that I know well enough, named Ben Newman, who I may have brought up before. He's an amazing mental performance coach. And a lot of the stuff that I really have fundamentally started to grip onto, I've learned from him. One specific lesson, which is standard over feelings. At any rate, he released last week this incredible series on mental toughness, and he brought in, like the creme de la creme of athletes and coaches and people along the way who, are mentally tough. Like everybody from, Ray Lewis to the fastest man in the world to, the Michigan basketball coach. Look, all these really impressive people. And they all wanted to talk and give their own spin on mental toughness. And I'd love to know what the military or how the military, kind of references this aspect a little bit and then have a conversation surrounding it. But as far as I can tell, and I'm going to simplify this and dumb this down, so don't get angry with me, but mental toughness is that ability to perform on demand, no matter what the circumstances. That's mentally tough. When you can get it done, even when you don't feel like it, you're still your very, very best. And so let's kick that around a little bit. What does mental toughness mean in the military? And you guys, whoever wants to go can.
Well, I think if you asked probably 100 different veterans or active duty, each one's going to have a little bit different of a twist depending upon leadership and who they're under or what their MOS might be, right? Mental toughness was just, I never really thought of it as a mental toughness. For me, it was almost like a physical toughness. Like I didn't, the mental part to me was kind of like, whatever, it's just a game. I know it's a game. I know they're going to fuck with us as long as they can. But for me, it was like your body is only going to, go so far. So me, it's like, you can push me as far as you want until we puke or convulse doing push-ups. But once my body quits, my body quits. So as far as like a mental toughness for me, it was really never mental. It was almost just physical for me.
Interesting. What do you think about that, Dave?
My thoughts went more over toward the civilian side of things. I've heard of mental toughness also called grit, kind of stick-to-itiveness, right? So you set a goal for yourself. And I think you need to have a goal, right? There needs to be some point to whatever it is that you're pursuing. But the ability to keep going in the face of adversity or keep, picking yourself up again after a failure, that you're so confident in the goal that you're trying to reach that there's nothing that stops you, even if you're set back a bit.
Yeah, because setbacks aren't even setbacks. They're just lessons. They're just like bumps in the road. Like they're so a part of the process for people that are mentally tough. Seth Pepper was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he's clear about it. Everything is an opportunity. He does not look at life any other way. No matter what is handed to him, it's an opportunity to do something. And that's a cool mindset to get into. Not real easy, but it's a cool mindset to get into.
Well, I was going to say, to piggyback off of Dr. Dave is, on the civilian side, 100%. I see where he's coming from on that. And that's one thing I kind of struggled with. But as with the mental health journey, as I've come along and got rid of some negative self-talk, it's like just baby steps. Like each step I get, I feel like I'm getting more and more confident. So kind of like we talked earlier, Dr. Dave is in the mindset of he wants to lose more weight. He wants to get back in the gym. That's kind of where I'm at. Like I'm full blown in the gym. One of my main goals next year is to do a mini or what they call a sprint kind of triathlon. I want to do a mile swim, half a marathon and so forth. So that's my big goal. So mentally just getting up and doing it, you just have to do it because it does, like you said, it doesn't matter. You got to be mentally strong on those days you don't want to go to the gym or go on a run.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Dave?
I forgot.
Oh, my bad.
I'm glad it's usually me that forgets, man. So I'll take it. Well, here's what I think about when I think about mentally tough. Like you were an Army Ranger, Chad, and there were so many times where you had to do things whether or not you felt like it or not. And let's be real blunt, right? The difference between being a Ranger and being a different version of somebody in the military is that ability to push through. Not everybody is made that way. Not everybody is built to overcome. Lots of people crumble in that space. And it was just so fascinating to hear all these people talk about the things that they did, the common threads, the this and the that. But I mean, does that resonate with you, dude? That you were an elite person yourself. You were like totally mentally tough.
Yes and no, because I think, I look at the injury that essentially changed my career, right? Like I look at myself as a complete failure, even though most guys would be like, no, dude, you fucked up your back and it's bad. And the government is giving you 20% per month, cause that's I think the biggest thing they can give you at the back. But I looked at myself for probably the last 20 years as a big failure because I wanted to be one of those guys that was at the tip of the spear. Being a Ranger was the beginning of it, right? I was going to learn and hone my skills there and then hopefully graduate up to Green Beret and then hopefully graduate, further up to chain to Delta to whatever. That was my goals. Like I was a poor kid in Montana, didn't have a whole lot, so I didn't have a whole lot running for me. So that was kind of my thing. So I just beat myself up for 20 years because of that injury.
Interesting. Probably see it all the time, Dr. Dave.
Yeah. Well, a lot of this has roots back to childhood, especially when it comes to not having mental toughness, right? So if you decide that you want to pursue something, I mean, there's a bunch of pieces that go into it, right? So if you're going to set goals for yourself, they have to be attainable. They have to be something within your skill set. If I set a goal for myself to become a master piano player and I've never played piano my whole life, right, that goal is going to fall flat. But assuming that you've taken kind of an inventory of your skills and you are pursuing something that you're genuinely interested in, you're going to face obstacles. There's going to be things that come up that get in your way, or challenges. You don't have the finances to make the next step, or life happens and somebody gets sick, or somebody needs more of your time, and so that diverts you. But whether you give up or not oftentimes goes back to narratives from early childhood. If you grew up hearing, oh, you're never going to amount to anything, you're not good enough, those are the things that are going to step into your mind when you face adversity and maybe short circuit that mental toughness and cause you to give up too soon. A lot of times when you're facing a lot of adversity, you're one more hump away from breaking through. But if you give up, you'll never get to see that on the other side.
Who's that military guy? David something. He speaks all over the place now. And is it Guggen?
Oh, David Goggins. I follow him, and he's a freaking machine.
He's a machine, man. And the way that he talks about, like you were talking about doing like a marathon or something like that, Chad, which by the way, I think is super awesome and aggressive all at the same time. Good for you. But he talks about the way the body breaks down along the way and the way that you have to push through and go, it's like, oh, that's not real. Like you have to have that conversation with your head and say, well, that's not real. It's like, well, it's bleeding. Well, that's not real. But you really, mind over matter. I guess what I want to ask you, Dave, is like, really, this is the crux of what you spent your whole life on, which is the mind. So mind over matter, helping us get mentally tough. What do we need to understand about what's happening up here in those moments where we need to turn it up a little bit?
Yeah. The two sides of it are, there are actual limitations to what you can do, physical limitations, time limitations. But the other part of it is you will not go any further than what you believe that you can do in your mind. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense.
Yeah. So if you think that you can only do a certain amount, that's all you will ever do. And you'll never go beyond that because you've set that limitation in your own mind. So there has to be this balance between an honest assessment of what the edges are, what the limitations are, and not giving up short of that. Having the grit to stick with it, even when things get in the way. And sometimes even a little naivety can be useful if you're especially starting a business or things like that. There are real obstacles, and you have to find a way to push through all the way to failure, or else you'll give up short of a potential success.
Yeah, I can see you shaking your head, Chad. It certainly is hitting with you as the entrepreneur of, the Mental Joe apparel.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't probably a day or a week that goes by that there's something that kind of kicks you in the teeth. Like I got, we got something kind of a setback that happened to us yesterday, and it was more of an ego blow than it was, a real true blow. It was just essentially, it's a pivot in thought process to move something else forward. That's all it was. And so 5 years ago, I would have shit the bed. I would have you know what? I'm staying in my room. To hell with this. I'm a loser. Yeah. It sucks. I can't do it. Like blah, blah. And I would have just created more chaos than it needs. Now I kind of look at it and say, shit, we'll just pivot. All right. That wasn't the greatest decision. We see what we did there. Like you said, I don't look at losing or failure anymore as failure. I'm like, what did I learn out of that process? I always say you either what is it? You either learn or you earn, and that's it. And so if I'm spending, I'm learning. If hopefully that brings back profit. So, it's definitely a total mindset, because like I said, 5-10 years ago, that never would have come out of my mouth.
Yeah. What do you want to say about that, Dr. Dave? I feel like you're ramped up for it.
If you hit a roadblock, especially with something like a business or a direction that you're trying to go in, don't waste that opportunity. I mean, you've already paid for it. You've already paid your tuition. Now take some time and get the lesson out of it, right? So a failure is an opportunity to learn. If you started off in business and you're trying to accomplish something and it fails spectacularly, pick it apart. What was it that went wrong? Was it your timing was off? It was underfunded? Had the wrong people on board? Whatever it may be. Like I said, you've already paid the tuition. Now take the class.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. I love that. And I actually have been, what was the quote that I heard from this coach the other day? He said, "No, man, there's not wins and losses. There's wins and learns."
Yep.
It's like, that's great. I love that. Wins and learns. How do we apply mental toughness to mental health? Because, I listen, I don't think I know full well there's a lot of dudes out there who would absolutely place the quote unquote weakness of having some sort of a mental health issue, and they would say, "Man, fuck that. We just got to get tougher. You got to toughen up, man. You got to get mentally tough. Don't worry about that stuff." So, I mean, where do mentally tough and mental health, where do they intersect?
You can push it too far.
Talk to me.
Right. So if you think about maybe some people that have risen to the peak of their profession.
You can just use my name. It's fine.
He's quick today, folks. He's quick.
So, you've scratched and clawed your way up to become the CEO of a company.
Right.
The amount of effort and time that it takes to get to certain places may come at a cost, may cost you your family, may cost you your relationship with your kids. Right. So those are things that have to be balanced out. There's only so many hours in a day, and you can put all of your effort into one particular thing and be great at that one particular thing, but it may come at the expense of your core, may come at the expense of your support.
Gosh, it rings so true. Doesn't that ring so true to you, Chad?
Yeah, almost too true. It's right there.
I'm not going to let you off the hook. Talk about it some more,
I mean, but that's where it comes into like balancing out the competing narratives, right? So if not pushing yourself to the point of destroying everything that's valuable to you means that you're a failure, right? That's a narrative that will be self-destructive at some point, right? So taking some time away from goals, even if it means maybe not doing everything that you thought that you needed to do or that you wanted to do, but for the sake of preserving relationships and other things that are important to you. I think ultimately that's going to lead to a happier, more balanced life than if you put all of your effort into one particular goal at the expense of other people and other things that are important to you. You may attain your goal and then find it very unsatisfying, empty, lonely, because of what you've had to sacrifice to get there?
I think back to 2018 when my own mental health started to decline a little bit. And that was the early onset of like back problems and life just starting to become more difficult and, this, that, and the other thing. And I really did do a bad job up front there. I tried to, I don't want to call it mentally tough, but like, I really didn't want to acknowledge the problem. I wanted to maintenance it, and I wanted to like go get a massage and, it'll be better, or I'll take a couple of days off from work and I'll be fine, or babe, just, let me go. I'm just going to go shopping by myself for a little while and I'll be better. And I wasn't as good as I would be now, where now, if somebody's struggling, I'm like, you should go on a retreat tomorrow. You should leave right now. You should quit. You just quit your job and you should, go take care of this right now. Yeah, absolutely. It's like, there's nothing else in the world. If you're not healthy, nothing else means a damn thing. And I was really bad at it. And now that I think about it, I don't know that I was being tough. What would you call that? Maybe being naive a little?
I'd call it being naive for sure.
Yeah.
For me, it, kind of like, I think same, stuff that you went through, until I realized like health is wealth, right? Like I just kept pushing and kept pushing, kind of like you said, be the number one, right? Be the number one on the wall there. And it's like, for what? For ulcers, for a bad marriage, for shitty kids. Like, what's the point of that? So, right. I'm with you. Anyone that's having a tough time, like, where do you work? Oh, just quit. We'll make it work. We'll find something for you.
We're really three people that you should not talk to if you're on the fringe of quitting your job. All three of us are going to be
right. You'll be sleeping in late on Monday.
There's a reason we have time to do this podcast at 4:00 in the afternoon, friends. Okay, listen. That's so good. Well, really quick, the Mental Joe apparel, we didn't hit it last week and I felt bad about that, but you have just signed a new agreement. Now all your stuff's going to be made here. It's going to be tagged here. Talk a little bit about what you got going on, man, with this little buddy right there.
Yeah, so we ended up doing some t-shirts here and kind of coming to agreement with a manufacturer here out of California, and we will have all of our stuff private labeled. We're going to be launching some hoodies this fall. We're going to do some women's Razorbacks. That's one of our newer designs. Believe it or not, people are raving about that design. That kind of
kidding me? I want one right now.
Yeah, I was at the gym and I wore it today. I had 4 people come up to me and say, "What in the hell and where did you get that?" I'm like, "Well, it's my company." And so I've already got 4 orders at the gym that I've got to go drop that off. For those of you that are not seeing this and just hearing this, it's paratroopers with their parachute being mushroom caps jumping into a mushroom field.
That one in the lower left looks like a penis. I'm not going to lie.
I would concur with that. I would concur. Yeah.
It's a little phallic. That's a very phallic mushroom.
So, but yeah, we're happy. We should by September 1st, we'll have all of our stuff private labeled, made in the USA. And then from there, we're branching out, and I'm trying to connect with a couple different, hat companies that actually make ball caps here in the US. Because believe it or not, most of the ball caps are made in Bangladesh or Vietnam or China. So there are some smaller manufacturers that are popping up that are actually making that type of stuff here. So we're trying to collaborate and partner with as many USA made products as possible to try to keep jobs here. So
sure. Well, and ultimately then to provide some non-traditional therapies for anybody that's tried a few things and they just haven't had much success with it. You know who I talked to today, by the way, guys? I don't know if our audience will remember her. She has been interviewed on this podcast before, but Lori Matola. Her and I initially got together to work out this kind of VETS project. And then, we all kind of came together on it. And now she's really focused on writing, and she's doing these writing classes now for folks who are really having a difficult time breaking through. And she's created this flow. What does she call it? The flow write method or something like that. I wonder, Dave, in all of your years of training, have you, or working with patients and clients and such, do you ever suggest writing? Is writing ever something that you say you guys should go do?
Yeah. There's a therapy program called prolonged exposure therapy that involves writing. So going into detail and writing out trauma and then kind of reading it back to yourself. But even journaling, I've recommended that to a lot of people. Thoughts can be bouncing around in your head, but when you commit them to paper, it helps you to kind of organize what you're thinking, and then you can read it back and see if it makes sense to you. You kind of reflect on it from a distance.
Yeah, I never liked writing. Chad, what about you?
No, I was going to ask. I've got this wonderful journal, in fact, and me and my buddy, who we talk weekly, we both bought the same damn journal. Beautiful, beautiful. It's got this whole walk through the whole 9 yards. Dr. Dave, how do you get over the hump? I don't mind journaling. I wouldn't mind doing it, but it's just like, I got to open this thing and I got to write this down and do it. I get it. It takes 5 minutes, but it is one of my biggest bugaboos. I cannot journal to save my ass, and I want to. I would love to. I don't know why it's such a mountain molehill type of thing for me.
You got to work at it, right? Go for it, Dave.
Yeah, just set aside 5 minutes, and then if things are coming to you, you can always go longer.
And Lori, actually, today I interviewed her for another show I'm working on, and she actually said, get on the paper and start writing stuff like, I don't know what to write. This is stupid. I don't want to write in this dumb book. I don't even know why I spent $9.99 on this stupid book. I'm never going to, literally start there, and then absolutely things will start to pop off. She likened it to meditation, and I loved the analogy, but you've done some mindfulness work. You both have. And when you start working with your brain, you can go all of about 6 to 12 seconds before a thought pops into it while you're trying to focus on your breath, right? Like, it's so impossible. You're sitting there, you're quiet. You're like, all right, I'm going to crush this. And then 10 seconds in, you're like, oh yeah, that's right. I need to remember to take the trash cans out tonight before 8 o'clock. You're like, all these things start coming through your head. Eventually, you can turn that all the way off, and you can get into a space where you get good at it. It just takes a little bit of work. And I think that's the same thing with writing. Have you set an intention for the writing, Chad? Is it like to write things that you leave behind to your kids? Is it for you?
I think there's a little bit of both. I think it's for me. Like, this one's got, how do you feel today? And it's got a bunch of words. So you kind of go through it. And then it's got intentions, achievements, things you're grateful for. What's your happy hour look like? So it's got pokes and prods to kind of move you along in this. But it's just, like you said, it's setting down. I think it's more of creating a routine with this. And then as I get that routine, then having a journal where, I talk about certain things, and maybe it's something I leave for the boys when, I'm on the other side of the earth, or whatever you want to call it. But
I like that. I love the idea of that. I've been thinking about getting a journal where I draft my life lessons in there. Like, whenever something happens, right? If I have a difficult day with the boys, I'll go in and journal. Today was a hard day with the kids. This thing went down. Here's what I did. Here's what I wish I would have done. Here's what I'm hoping you'll do with your boys later on. And then, when they have their own children, kind of gift them a copy of that thing. I know I'll never do it, but I love that idea.
I think it's phenomenal. Yeah, I just gotta implement it.
And even if you have no intention of ever sharing it with anybody, I think back to, I was a little kid. 1978, I had a journal, like a diary thing, and it was only 4 lines for each day. But there were some significant things that happened in my life back then, and I could look back at that now, and because there's no way you're going to remember that many years back, like what it was like, but even just seeing like little snippets of things and how things evolved and what the time frame was between one thing and another is interesting.
I can believe it.
I don't journal anymore. I mean, that was, like I said, it was just a childhood diary at the time, but looking back on it now, I can definitely see where the benefit could be for somebody, even just, maybe once you have your breakthrough, once things finally do fall into place, to kind of go back and look at the path that you took to get there. That's a very interesting process and very informative to, because your brain has a way of warping things over time and distorting things over time. So, I've
noticed that.
Yeah. It may feel like it was a lot harder than what it actually was. It may feel like it was a lot easier than what it was. Maybe you're so blissful about the success that you forget the struggles in between, and remembering those struggles would be helpful the next time you hit adversity. You kind of remember, oh yeah, the last time I did this, it was just about as hard and I pushed through. And, so just having that perspective.
No, I love that. No,
as we wind down, I want to bring it back around to mental toughness again. And, centrally, themed. I think our podcast is designed to talk about the mental wellness of vets and what's facing them, how they can overcome some of these hurdles, what their family members and support teams can do to kind of benefit them. When is it time to stop being mentally tough, Dr. Dave? When do we need to step in and say, all right, enough, tough guy, this is a problem?
I think it's always good to have support along the way. So even if you're still in the persistence phase, you haven't hit a brick wall, you're just hitting some struggles, having somebody that you trust along the way to bounce ideas off of, and muting the naysayers that are just being negative. I think if you have somebody else to bounce things off of, you'll be able to figure out when enough is enough, right? You have that other person that might say, yeah, but look at how this is affecting your family, or look at, you haven't slept, more than 3 hours the last 2 weeks. Maybe you need to do this differently.
Chad, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would say too, I think it's one of you almost got to be in tune with yourself, right? You got to try to hold yourself accountable, really. Because that's kind of where it came for me, is like I had to look in the mirror and say, enough's enough. We got to stop this repetitive cycle of bullshit and, get in the mirror and let's get nitty gritty about it. And then when you can actually say that, like Dr. Dave said, have some people that'll hold you accountable and kind of put you back on the railroad tracks, if you want to say that, if you were to fall off, and you got to trust those people. That's why I think when I started this journey, there was a lot of people I just pushed aside, because I had to hone in on what was going on, what were my triggers, and figure those things out so I could change.
Right. Somebody told me today, they said, when you're going through something big, you need to put a lot of people in your life. They need to go to the sidelines because you're the one playing the game. So that's a good sports analogy, right? That when you're getting ready to make a big transformation in your life, you certainly do need to have this parting of the sea. Certain people need to get the hell out of the way because there is no room for anybody else on some of these journeys. What were you going to say, Dave?
Self-criticism is not always a bad thing, but I think you have to look at what the purpose of the self-criticism is and see what the outcome is going to be. So
okay,
if you're self-critical and it shuts you down and causes you to give up, then it's not helpful. But what Chad was saying about, hey, I'm not happy with where things are right now. I'm looking at, the decisions that I'm making. I'm looking how it's affecting other people. This is not right. I'm not on the right path. That's self-criticism. But the intent is, let me get into problem solving mode here and figure out how to move forward from this and how to come up with a positive direction to go in. I think at that point, then self-criticism is useful. But if it's just like the old childhood stuff, you see that, I knew I would never amount to anything, that has a dead end associated with it. You're not going to push through on that.
That's interesting. Why not?
Well, because you've determined, there's nothing good about you, right? So there's no point in pushing through because it's futile. I knew this my entire life, that it was futile, that there was no point to even trying. I don't know why I even started in the first place, right? You see how that negative dialogue can go, and it has the effect of just shutting everything down. But I think it's not. It's a very useful thing to take a look at a failure, or just if you're feeling angst, or if you're feeling off balance, to take a look at that for the point of view of trying to fix it. So similar to like if you're driving your car and you hear a weird noise, you could ignore it until something completely breaks. Or you
can just use my wife's name if you want again. That's fine.
I mean, take a look. If you don't know what's wrong with it, take it to a mechanic. But don't ignore it. And that pushing and pushing and pushing. If you're feeling that the situation's not right and you're still pushing, eventually it's going to break, or you're going to end up getting so off balance that it's not healthy.
Let me ask you guys a question to close shop, and I want everybody that comes and views this video, as it's sitting here on YouTube and our Facebook channels, to comment as well. Do you think people want brutal honesty?
No.
No?
No. Most
Trust me, I'm about the most brutal, honest guy I know. My friends and family will say so, and they're like, "Yeah, you probably shouldn't have said that."
Most people want to be told that they're okay and that the direction they're on is just fine.
Okay, fair enough. So
I mean, I think, you know, you have to want that kind of honesty, and you have to seek it out from other people.
Yeah.
And you have to be ready for what you're going to receive, because sometimes it's going to be a punch in the nose.
Yeah.
And
everybody needs that good friend, though, that will punch him in the nose.
That is a fact. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
I think you got to be able to take that too. Right. You know, I mean, I've got some buddies and we go golfing. It's not even really golf. It's 4.5 to 5 hours of pure straight shit talking and, you know, demoralizing each other to the biggest, you know, degrade we can, you know, but what's great about that, it's that male, camaraderie, or I can't even say
it's called camaraderie.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, short bus, right?
Listen, it's fine. All the buses get there.
That's right. That's right. So it's one of those things. I think you got to be willing to dish it and talk about it. And now that my group of friends is more open about it, we actually are, you know, we had a men's flag staff trip, and we, you know, a couple of us had some good heart to heart. So it's kind of nice to see that that's kind of turning around, and their guys are feeling comfortable actually opening up about certain topics.
Yeah. The last question I want to ask you, Dr. Dave, and then we can kind of close up shop, is this idea that I was talking with my friend Chris about this morning, which is, okay, there's a lot of people go to couples therapy, and they do that so they can get on the same page. They get common language. They get the similar tools. We don't really have that for PTSD in the military. There's not really like there's not really a place that we can go where both of us can essentially receive some therapy and tools on how we can help each other out, right? Like, Chad, you and Carrie never had a place where you could both attend, and they were like, here's all your tools so you can deal with Chad when he goes off the rails.
Yeah, no. And we kind of talked about this similar in another group today, is like, the veteran help is strictly for the veterans. There's no real help for the spouse or help for the kids. You know, that trauma and PTSD gets passed down. So there's no real tools for it. So I would love to see some kind of toolkit for the families, and, you know, coming together of like, hey, you know, a lot of these guys have gone down range. They know how people are going to act when they come home. So like, let's get them integrated when they, you know, come home from downrange, in some kind of a process.
Yeah.
There is actually a resource. So a lot of people think of veteran care as the Department of Veteran Affairs, so the VA proper. But a sister organization that's under the same umbrella are the vet centers. And the vet centers are peer run. So it's run by veterans for veterans. And they do focus more on the relationships. They'll do couples therapy. They'll have groups. I even remember a spouses group for spouses of veterans that have PTSD. So that is a resource that's available. I think
super.
In town here, we have like about 4 locations.
Okay.
Wow. See, that's the kind of stuff you don't know about. You know,
right.
I think sometimes too, with that umbrella, there's so much under the umbrella, veterans are unsure which way to go.
Yeah, right. You just, well, you don't know if you don't know, but that could be something to look into, because, you know, I've really kind of come to key in on this, and I'll tell you, there's kind of a personal reason that I'm bringing this up. I have a couple of friends who, you know, recently had a little marriage squabble, and, you know, she kind of wanted him to get some more tools, and he didn't want to go get more tools. And eventually, you know, they kind of start doing this a little bit, right? And now he's somewhere, you know, legitimately right now where he's getting tools and he's figuring that out. She is over the moon. She is so excited to be able to communicate with him in her new language, right? She's so pumped up to share all of that with him. And I know that could be so powerful for couples who are dealing with PTSD and their families too.
Right. The challenge in that situation is when you have somebody who's struggling and the spouse wants to help and there's tension there. having a conversation that starts with, I would like to help you to get more help for yourself.
Right. We're going to go to McDonald's, but first we're going to stop by this place.
Yeah. Intervention. Here we go.
Yeah, right. Well, it's hard. That's what I mean. Like, that's why I asked that question. Do people want brutal honesty? Because maybe they don't. Maybe you guys are right. I do, right? I'm somebody who's like, just hand it to me. I like it. Tell me what's up. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just your opinion anyways, but there's a lot of times where that can be useful is the way that I approach it.
I think that's the best way to go. What are you living by if you're not living by the truth? Right. And so if you set yourself up to not be available to hear the truth from other people, then you're living a lie. What are you living?
Yeah.
Right. So it takes courage to say, okay, I want to know the truth. You may have to build yourself up to be ready to deal with the truth. I mean, all of us have things in our lives that are either personal failures or deficiencies or things that need work.
Except Chad. Chad's pretty freaking clean, man. That guy is like,
I don't know about that.
West Point material.
Shit. Janitor, maybe.
I loved it. Well, guys, thank you again. Mental toughness. You don't have to be mentally tough when it comes to your mental health. That's the area where I just want you to let go of that whole concept and get yourself better, because like Dr. Dave said, probably time and time again today, eventually it's going to become a problem. Eventually it's going to filter into your relationships with your kids and your wife and your career. And you're better than that. And you deserve to put yourself in a position where you are not reacting anymore. You're being proactive with your life, and you're stepping into a little bit more intention is the way that I like to look at it. Control is an absolute illusion, but you can 100% have influence on your life and start to do the little things to put it back where you want it to be. It may take a little while. Some people might need to leave for a bit. You might have to quit your job, but you'll find your way. You'll find your way. All right, Dr. Dave, be safe in that 4-wheel drive this week.
Yeah, we'll do.
Okay. Chad, sell a couple of T-shirts, man.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
Not this penis one, though. Let's leave that off, man. What are we doing? Look at that thing on the right. It looks like a dildo.
Hey, I can't speak for the graphic designer, all right? I don't know what he was.
I think it was intentional. That's my point. 100%. There's not a digital marketer in the world that would look at that and be like, oh, yeah, we put that in there. Put that in there. Look at that thing. Jeez Louise. People on the stream are getting a good show. All right, guys. Have a great week. We'll see everybody next time. Thank you for watching. If you need anything, leave us in the comments. If you have emails or questions, we love fielding them. No question is too silly or too small. We love tackling just about anything. So leave a little note in the comments and we'll hit you next week. Take care, everybody.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.